funny, on a weekend like this, me and you, we don't matter. Our kind, we don't matter. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. And yes, I'll get around to explaining that. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. Comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Pirates versus Cubs tonight at PNC Park. That's a 6:40 p.m. first pitch for young Jared Jones. In the afternoon at 1:15 p.m., Paul Skeens will meet the media. According to social media, he arrived in downtown last night. Today is going to be his walk around the clubhouse and shake everybody's hands and get used to his stall and set up everything and begin his preparation for facing the Cubs himself tomorrow. And that, of course, is a 4:05 p.m. first pitch. Nick Gonzalez will be called up today. Sources told DK Pittsburgh Sports last night. So there's even potentially offensive help on the way. It's exciting. I'm not going to diminish, much less downplay that. It's exciting when you have legitimate young talent at hand, and that young talent appears poised to make a difference at the only level that matters. That's exciting. That's good stuff. And take this from someone who covered Stephen Strasburg's debut, meaning live and in person in Washington when it happened. It's, whoa. I mean, if this setting, it was anything like what happened that day to the Pirates going down 14 times and poor Andy LaRoche. Oh my goodness, Andy LaRoche. Andy went down with the sombrero, and on all four of those strikeouts was not even close. But you know what else I got for you here? I think it's a pivotal weekend. I've used the word pivotal in its truest sense, meaning you're at a pivoting point. You're at a fork in the road. You can go one direction, you can go the other. Chances aren't very good that you're going to go straight ahead. And that's how I see this weekend. Think about this. The Pirates are 17-21. They're 4 games under. They're probably in a place where they could just go right ahead and drown for the full summer. The Cubs are one of the 2 teams ahead of them in the division at 22-16. The Brewers, the team they face right after that, and I'll be traveling up to Milwaukee to cover that series as well, are 22-15. This really sets up, you know? And when you're coming off of 9 consecutive games against 3 of the worst teams anywhere, and all you got out of it was 3-6 and you couldn't hit the ball to save your life, you're kind of getting the picture here. And that's not, again, to downplay or diminish the other stuff, the fun stuff that's coming this weekend. But as I said at the very top of this episode, this isn't for me and you. This weekend, this is for, you know, the casual observers of the franchise, the ones who they've heard about this kid, they're learning a little bit about him over these past 48 hours. They want to go to the game just to say that they were there for his debut. I've talked to these people in the past. I remember what it was like when a few extra thousand tickets were sold for Garrett Cole's debut, for Andrew McCutchen's debut after Nate McLouth was traded. And these aren't the ones who are even going to know that Gonzalez is on the way or care all that much. Heck, they might not know that much about Jones. But you and I, we're hopeless in this regard. We're stuck. It's in different ways, but we're stuck. And we follow this very, very closely, and we understand that this season matters, or at least we were told that it matters, or at least it's supposed to matter because it's year 5. And I'm not even sure what I'm expecting here could be the positive pivoting point. That all of a sudden everybody would learn how to hit, or alter the hitting philosophy, or alter the hitting coach. But I do know that there are not many teams in baseball that would have 2 absolute wipeout rookies in their rotation that would have another guy in their rotation who's an all-star, who's just coming off of his best start, one of the best of his career, but certainly his best this season in Mitch Keller, who've also gotten good depth showings out of Martin Perez and even Bailey Falter, and who have a bullpen if it's applied properly. And now that you seem to maybe have David Bednar somewhat back on track and the same going for Aroldis Chapman, they could be really good too. But the ointment in this is they can't hit at all. At all. And, you never know. You never know what might spark at least the guys who are supposed to be hitting, at least spark the, Brian Reynolds, Brian Hayes, Andrew McCutchen. You can say whatever you want about his age and whether or not he has slowed down or his bat speed is different. But he shouldn't be hitting 180. He shouldn't be hitting 180 if he's out there at age 50. And I could make, I guess, a similar argument, if not all the way, for a Rowdy Tellez who's never been this bad at any stage of his career, for Jack Sawinski who's never been this bad at any stage of his much younger, nonetheless defined career. O'Neal Cruz is also starting to show signs. No, I'm not even coming close to expressing optimism about the offense, but something has to happen. Something has to happen. And it would seem like this weekend is when it would have to happen. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from Robert, who says, DK, probably more to do with not taking Jared Jones out of his own cadence, but regardless of how Paul Skeens does in his outing this weekend, does it make sense to not pitch your two flame-throwing youngsters in back-to-back games moving forward? Maybe they're just that good, but I would think that it would help the opposition adjust. Robert, I'm not going to lie, I thought of this myself after the Pirates formally announced yesterday that Jones would be starting the series opener tonight against the Cubs. I can see a scenario based on things that people in baseball have told me for many, many years where the hitters can more appropriately time their swings to the speed of the heat that they're facing. The reason that I don't think it would be as big a factor with these two pitchers, they use so much different stuff. They're so diverse, Robert. It's not as simple as them just rearing back and hitting triple digits. Not only do they have a broad variety of pitches, but even their pitches that have the same names don't come with the same velocities, same shape, same delivery, same arm angle. And something that Henry Davis told me in spring training that really stands out in my mind about Skeens alone. And I really, it's not like he needs additional hype. So I'm not doing this to pile on the expectations or whatever, but just hear this out. Henry said that with Skeens, the way that the ball comes out of his hand is different from pitch selection to pitch selection. The timing of the ball coming out of the hand, that's what I'm referring to here. His arm goes back. Think about this. The arm is coming forward. When does the hand actually release the ball? It's different for each pitch. Henry says that even when he's back there catching and he knows what pitch is coming, obviously since he called it, he still ends up getting thrown by it, and he has to prepare himself mentally differently when Skeens is on the mound. That means every Skeens pitch that you get is different unto itself, never mind how different it might be from Jones. I could see your point standing over time. I really could. I could see where, like you said, what was the word you used here? Cadence. Jones's cadence would be a factor here for Derek Shelton. I'm sure it's going to come up with him today in the pregame press conference as to why he chose this route. He's just going to say that was Jared's day to pitch, and the other one is that's just going to be Paul's day to pitch based on the way he was used in Indianapolis. But he can, and I'm sure will, find a way to spread them out because I know he happens to believe it as a manager, meaning he happens to believe that there's a benefit not just to Jones and to Skeens, but let's say they put a Bailey Falter in between them. Falter is a really unusual pitcher. He's a lefty who works up in the zone consistently, and he works up there with a sinker, which is really, really strange. But it was one of the things that the management, unlike me, was completely correct about regarding Falter back in the spring. I wanted him buried and gone after the spring, and then especially after that 5-run first inning in Miami. I was wrong. They were right. And the reason they were right is because of how different he is than everybody else. Well, if you put Falter in between those two, you're really messing people up. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. Have a fun weekend at PNC Park. I mean that. This is the good part. This is why you're in this, okay? Let's get together again here next Monday.